Let's get to contract stock take time. We almost need a sponsor for this, Cal. Ben King is a fascinating one that we all spoke about off air because it was almost taken from industry-wide. 2-year deal, which is good for him, good for Gold Coast, and then he can explore his options there, but it's not so secure anymore.
So here's where it stands on Ben King. He's had this 2-year offer that's about the $1.35, $1.4 million mark from the Suns on the table for some time now. On top of that, he actually, as part of this offer, has the opportunity to sign a player option extra 6-year deal at any point over the next 2 years. So it's the perfect option for him in that he can do a short-term deal and then wake up halfway through and go, you know what, that extra 6-year deal, I'm going to do that. So it's essentially an 8-year agreement split into 2 and 6. 2 plus 6, we call it.
It's the original Josh Kelly deal.
Josh Kelly, Andrew Gaff did it. Miles Bergman last year at Port Adelaide actually signed the same thing as well. So that's the option at the Suns. And as of probably prior to them heading to Darwin and while he was up there, all indications were, all right, this is going to happen pretty soon. It's going to happen and it's not too far away. But he's come back and the door has been kept open ever so slightly to Victorian clubs. And as we know, we're in June now and they've gotten through their bye, which is often the stock take contract time to think and pause and have a look at what your decision is going to be. And he hasn't come back and signed this deal and he's going to take more time to do it, is my understanding. So, look, he could wake up any day and go, all right, I've had enough of thinking, I've had enough talking about it, I'm just going to do it. However, Hawthorn, Geelong, Collingwood to some degree are still watching this space really closely until he actually signs this deal because I think they are now walking around with a little bit more hope that this door is open than they were 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I want to get your thoughts on Bailey Humphrey, but this was Damien Hardwick on contracted players, including Bailey Humphrey and Joel Jeffrey, and I think you might have mentioned Ben King in this.
People can sit there and they can talk about Bailey Humphrey and Joel Jeffrey and all these players. They're contracted to us for the next 2 years. You can talk to them as much as you want, but they're contracted. They're not going anywhere as long as I'm coach of this football club. So Ben King I can understand. He's a free agent. It's different. But the fact of the matter is our contracted players are our contracted players. Keep talking to them. They're not going anywhere. Why would you? Why would you?
That was Damien Hardwick, sounding like he's giving a couple of stiff jabs to the microphone there. That was the little thumping that you heard. Ben King, different. And the reason why Bailey Humphrey's intriguing is because of the photos we saw last year where he's going for a walk with the Melbourne coach, Stephen King.
Yeah, and met with Collingwood and also spoke with Hawthorn too. So he was doing the rounds last year. That was with 3 years to go on his deal. He's got 2 years to go on his deal after this. Damn it. I liked him as passion for his club, and this is what he's done over the course of his coaching career, Joel. Gold Coast did drag Daniel Rioli out of Richmond while he's under contract, flew him up to Gold Coast, spent a weekend there, and then flew him back while he's in contract at the Tigers. So this happens. Everybody knows it happens. It's a good starting point from a Gold Coast Football Club point of view, but that's not going to stop Melbourne. It's not going to stop Hawthorn or Collingwood or Carlton from chasing Bailey Humphrey this year.
Yeah, and they've just got to be smart list decisions over this period too, because the best thing for the Gold Coast is maybe not get caught up in these things too. If you've got one of the players that falls out, you get to keep a lot of the others, and it makes it easy to move on the players that you actually do need around, or you can bring in too. We've seen that on a number of occasions. You think of Melbourne the year before with Oliver. All of a sudden, things change over the next 12 months, move him on, and then you find a bit more space and you find some players within that. And now the Melbourne Footy Club looking completely different.
It is an intriguing challenge for Gold Coast, though, in that they're just starting to pop as a footy club, aren't they? Like, we made the finals last year for the first time. This year, you'd say, is the first time they've been right inside that top 4 contention. And their best key forward, who's been there for 8 years, is thinking about leaving. Or most likely stays, but still has left that door ajar. Their young key forward, who's a top 3 pick, who's a local player only 3 years ago, is considering whether he stays or goes. Bailey Humphrey is a top 5 pick from Victoria, 2022. So he's thinking about going. Some of the peripheral players are a different kettle of fish, but this is a club actually there. It doesn't happen to other clubs because they have to pluck them off so often from Victorian interstate. It's a different challenge for them.
Can you explain the contract then, like the Ben King contract? Why would they do a 2 and not worry about just looking after their own backyard and getting that right, rather than saying, we won't let this person go, we won't let that person go, and we'll give him another 6 years because we're going to make the environment so strong that he won't be able to leave?
Well, I think there's an element of he's done 2-2-2-2 across his career, so he's always kind of preferred that way, and that gives him chances after every 2 to stop and think about what he wants to do. And he does have ties to Victoria, obviously. Him and his partner are from Victoria, and his family clearly from Victoria. So that's part of it. And also, at year 10, as an unrestricted free agent, there's an appealing part of that for players now in that if you wanted to walk to a club, you couldn't just match a bid. And that's where if King leaves and goes to Hawthorn this year, Gold Coast would say, okay, we're going to match the bid, trade for him. Do you want him as much?
You mentioned a young draftee. Of course, they've always got the battle with Reid, King, Hugo Hagan up there, and Jed Walter. Damien Hardwick, I'm pitching to Jed Walter to stay.
One of those things with Jed, there was always going to be one step back to go 2 steps forward. And now we're starting to see the player that we feel we've always known. It can be very, very frustrating as a player, and we understand that. And, obviously from opportunity, all the kid wants to do is play AFL senior footy. We personally think the best place for Jed to be is up here. You look at our temperature today, beautiful. You know what it's like in Melbourne? Stay here, Jed.
Weather is good.
I think you actually said something after that we've had to cut out. There was a It House.
Oh, okay.
Maybe started with an S at the start of that as well, in terms of Melbourne's weather, and he's not wrong. But
Scheisenhausen.
Yeah,
something like that.
Scheisenhausen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Braxy.
I think that's what he said in that press conference. But Jed Walter's, in some ways, tying his future up in the discussion around Ben King, in that he wants to know what Ben King's doing until he absolutely decides what he's going to do, and that's the squeeze, isn't it?
He'll be in high demand. Jed Walter, a man who is in high demand, but are we getting skinnier with the amount of clubs? Do you still believe Zak Butters will be a Bulldog next year? Will he remain at the Port Adelaide pair, or do the Hawks, the Cats, or the Pies have an opportunity?
Well, I've said all along that I've thought that the Dogs are the favourites, and I still think that. And then he's got the links there as formerly being a barracker for the Bulldogs, and there's that element to it, and they've chased him for a long, long period. So, but I've always thought it's probably one of the two in terms of the Dogs and the Cats. Collingwood is there. Have they always been in there as well and chasing him? And then Richmond, who reported in Gather Round in April, start of April, had put forward what would be the biggest offer in AFL history and the biggest deal in AFL history for him. And that hasn't changed. It's still there, and they still are targeting him. That would be his easiest path back to Victoria, right? Because
they'll have the picks.
They'll have the picks, and they've got the money, and that'd be an easy path for him. But is it in the same realm of contention like Geelong and the Western Bulldogs? Obviously not. You're probably banking more on the what-if of the talent rather than the what you've seen from Geelong and the Bulldogs over a long period of time, particularly the Cats in terms of always contending.
Alistair Clarkson, did he visit him, or was that someone else?
I'm glad you asked that because he absolutely did not speak to Zak Butters in Adelaide. Right. I love Adelaide media. It's good fun. But it's
one man did get caught wearing his grey tracksuit pants to the airport one time to go visit.
Did have a partner in crime.
You two just strolling through.
I had a heavy corky. I had to look after myself. I was icing under there.
No. Well, the funny bit is that Zak Butters was on his way back to Melbourne when Clarko was there in Adelaide. But North Melbourne is not in the conversation for Zak Butters. They're the clubs that are in that mix, and I've felt the Dogs for the period of the year. And I mean, again though, you want to be aware of how the deal's going to get done because Port Adelaide is going to match the offer. So, is it 3 picks and a player? Is it 3 first-round picks and a player? Is that probably where it lands? Is that going to be enough to appease Port Adelaide, who are going to be losing, a top 5 player in their history? He's probably in that sort of realm of champions of that football club. By the way, he couldn't have handled this any better, could he? Like in terms
playing
of
he's out of his brain at the moment.
You guys saw it from the other end when Patrick Dangerfield left Adelaide and played at the same level all the way through and carried himself so well. I think Zak's done exactly the same.
Yeah, but he's stood up and spoken to media at a number of times too.
Yeah,
it hasn't missed a beat.
I'll give you 2 minutes on Zak Bailey and Tom Green. Bailey, most people expecting he's going to take the Adelaide offer, or we got another party, or is he likely to stay at the Brisbane Lions?
My understanding is that Brisbane's belief now is that the likelihood is that Zak Bailey is going to get to Adelaide, and Brisbane has made clear that they would most likely match a bid. That's where it would be interesting because I think Adelaide's interest is in as a free agent, not as a trade. And that's why they've offered him $10 million over 7 years, because they want to push him through free agency. The likelihood at this point, unless he again wakes up and says, I'm okay with earning $3 million less over the next 6 or 7 years, which is the question for him, right? So I think that's trending towards that way. And Tom Green, the Giants have offered a 7-year deal through to 2034, worth about $9 million. He's going to wait till later in the year before getting to that, but it's the Giants it's a strong move from the Giants to be putting their flag in the ground saying, we want you this much, we're going to try and do it before next year, your free agency year, and before even you get back from your knee, Rico.
Potentially future captain of the Giants if he stays. The current captain, Toby Green.
Yeah, that's in play. I think he's genuinely weighing up whether he comes back to Victoria or not, and there's a 3-year offer on the table from the Giants, which is a good offer, but Geelong, I think if he moves, Geelong's right in the framework for him.